we knew what the stakes were of this game. We, myself and Figgy accurately called it a must-win. Lopez was, half-stepping over there somewhat. But you came in 0-3.
Yeah.
This was for multiple reasons and not just for a victory. It feels like you maybe answered or like at least said something to a lot of the questions that you had. And so the larger question I want to have as we get into this general conversation here, John Lopez, did this feel like a turning point for the Houston Texans?
Short answer, yes. And I know, some people are going to go about talk about the Titans and the yeah buts and all that. But to me, Reggie, it's the how as much as anything. We can talk about numbers and stats and all that, but how they did this to me mattered a lot, because let's go back to, I don't know, early in the third quarter, midway through the third quarter. How were we feeling about this team? What was it? 6-0, missed a field goal. Really could have, been a tied ball game if the Titans had an adequate kicker and all that. This thing could have gone. I mean, it was going. We went into the game like, if they don't win this game, it's going to be all hell's going to break loose.
That's right.
All hell's going to break loose. And for about 2.5 quarters, it was going that way. It was an awful performance. Very much just the crowd. The Ryder Cup, I think I told you guys during in the press box at one point, the Ryder Cup was louder than NRG Stadium.
Oh, yeah. I felt real bad for the DJ on staff at NRG Stadium because he plays some bangers. Myself and D. Scott noticed it at one point, and I wrote this in my football game notes. I was like, he played TV Off by Kendrick Lamar, and usually that gets the people going.
Yeah.
Crickets.
Nothing.
It was like there was
Nothing.
not juice for a good was in that building. Was like, look, man, ain't no environment is going to do this for you. You got to do this on the field.
Right. So at that point, it's going off the rails. It is going off the rails as an organization. Forget the team and the whole organization. As an organization, it's going, because they would imagine had it gone the other way, like the things we'd be talking about. And then, the reason that I am, absolutely in line with your question of, was it a turning point? Because it was such an impressive flip of the switch that you could almost see, you could see things starting to click. And in particular for C.J. Stroud, but really for this entire team. Keep this in mind as well. 38 drives this season going into the fourth quarter.
Okay, 38 drives. Noted.
They had scored 3 touchdowns. Then they scored 3 touchdowns in a row on 3 straight drives.
In the fourth quarter.
Yeah. That is what's significant today.
That's as night and day as it gets.
Yes.
Three for 38. All of a sudden we go 3 for 3 on the backside of that. Yeah. That's definitely something solid. And you know what? If we're talking about potential turning points, if not just specific turning points, you talked about CJ. It felt like he was okay to a certain point, just kind of getting through it to some degree. And you even have what was a very clear missed shot on a wide open, booty button naked Dalton Schultz down the seam, and he misses that by a mile. In fact, it wasn't even just like he was a little off. Missed it entirely on the timing of it and the touch of it. And then with all that being the case, we get to a time where we got to stay scheduled. This is the only way for this offense to be effective.
Yeah.
2nd and 20. 3rd and 20. Or sorry, 2nd and 30.
2nd and 33.
Yeah. And you're like, oh, God, here we go.
Yeah.
And then this play comes out of nowhere to really turn the tide.
CJ in the gun, 2nd down and 33 from the Houston 18-yard line. Woody Marks in the backfield. CJ looking. CJ lofts the ball downfield, left side, and caught. Nico, left side, and he's got it in Tennessee territory. You need a first down, just go to number 12. He gets it for you. 38-yard play to the 45-yard line of the Titans.
I'd have to pull a Muhammad Ali on Snead right about now if I'm Nico. I'd turn around and ask him, what's my name? Every time he hit a guy in the fight, he was asking him, what's my name? He kept calling him Cassius Clay.
He knows him now.
He does.
Sure does.
He does. That play changed everything. Yes, we're on Reaction Monday. Some people used to call it Overreaction Monday.
Let's do it.
I don't think it's an overreaction. I think that play changed everything because you saw what happened from that moment forward. And C.J. Stroud got his swag back, man.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. Like, that's one of the things when you talk about, a turning point. That was a pass with touch and perfectly placed right in the bucket. There was a number of those. Obviously, you get the touchdown to Jaden Higgins. Touch, great accuracy. You started seeing the C.J. Stroud that we had been talking about. A lot of people had criticized him for not seeing when you had opportunities. I'm not on Schultz, but other than that, C.J. Stroud was phenomenal in this game. I mean, what did he ultimately finish? 22 of 28, 233 yards, 2 touchdowns, a passer rating of 125.1, which I believe is third best in his career.
Yeah.
So not only did this all right, we're just going to wash away some of the stink from CJ of the last year and a half, or the last few games. The last year and a half, I mean, going all the way back through his career, this is one of the best games that he's put up just statistically, managing what was happening on the field and getting the ball where it needed to be.
And from that moment, Sean Pendergast tweeted this out, and I made note of it. Before that pass to Nico Collins, C.J. Stroud was 13 out of 17 for 100 yards, 5.8 yards per attempt, and a 90 rating. After that, 9 of 11, 133 yards, 2 touchdowns, 12.1 yards per attempt, and 156 rating. I'm telling you, that moment is one that we're going to go back and look at and realize that was a moment that I'm not going to say things finally started to click, because I think he knows he's known what he should be doing, but the confidence level and the trust in himself and learning, making the call to make the changes at the line of scrimmage. You could easily argue, I know for a fact because they talked about it after the game, the Jaden Higgins touchdown, that was CJ at the line of scrimmage saying, "Oh, you're gonna play tight. I know exactly what to do. Boom, boom, boom. There's the ball. The ball placement specialist that he called himself was back." I personally think that Nico Collins was a change at the line of scrimmage. I think they were probably looking for something else. Second and third, 3, probably trying to just get a little bit of yardage back. He saw Snead come up and play Nico tight, little eyebrow raise or whatever it was, and there you go, fade, right for the big play.
Which, I mean, that's what we've been looking for, and I'm interested because I do want to circle around to something that you brought to mind, but we've been looking for some explosive out of this offense. One of the big gripes for me, and I imagine for some other people with this offense, is that everything seemed to be looking just within the 5 to 7 to 10 yard at max route, like depth. Everything is like safety blanket depth, as I'm almost calling it at this point, where here's Dalton Schultz in the flat area. Here's getting some quick outs in some places. Like, it felt like that was everything that was happening, and so you end up in a place where you finally see some things go downfield and attack downfield. That felt very valuable.
Yeah, but that was a product. That was a product of. We heard it during the week. D'Amico Collins meeting with C.J. Stroud, talking about things. Nick Caley and the offensive staff were trying to get C.J. Stroud back to the confidence in himself to make those plays and make those calls. I think in that moment, that's where it all. That was one play that changed a lot, perhaps changed everything. Maybe it was a turning point for the season. But that one play was a product of everything that was going on behind the scenes, and that was huge.
Sports Radio 610, Houston Texans breaking news.
Yeah, Houston Texans breaking action today. The Texans doing a little reacting of their own. They're linking up again with the Cleveland Browns, a team that they're familiar doing deals. In this instance, they're trading left tackle Cam Robinson, the big free agent acquisition that they got. They trade him to the Cleveland Browns for, according to, I believe this is
Jeremy Fowler.
And Jeremy Fowler. I think Tom Pelissero had it first. 6th and 7th round pick swap in 2027. So late round pick swap is ultimately what is gotten from the 1-year free agent that you had signed. Cam Robinson will be traded away from the Texans to the Cleveland Browns. Your initial reaction, especially once we saw Cam Robinson was inactive going into this game?
Healthy scratch, big miss for Nick Caserio, $14.5 million contract, I think 12 guaranteed. So no other way to put it, just a swing and a miss on Cam Robinson. And that's one of the things that we will probably have to revisit, because Caserio's had his weird moments, his bad moments. But, they're cutting bait with him. They're cutting bait with him now.
Yeah. That, again, I think that's a swing and a miss. In some ways, covered by the fact that you did draft Ariante Ursarin. He demonstrated himself capable of playing left tackle at a certain level. He had a better game himself, even though one of the small things that defenses continue to do still showed up in this game and needs to be tightened up. He did look good, including, there was like an outside sweep, like a wide run that was like, oh, I did not realize this was a thing that the Texans were allowed to do, where Ariante Ursery is out in the head.
Yeah.
Probably could have made a little bit better block in space, but I mean, big boy rumbling in the space, just getting guys was valuable enough. Shout out to Ariante Ursery making this line better just off the strength of him, showing up at an earlier timeline than I think some maybe anticipated. But yeah, Cam Robinson now gone. I think that this does help, and it does suck that all you get back is like a late round draft pick, but I do wonder how much of that money, if all of it is just going away from you, so that maybe helps erase some of the harm of that deal.
It does, but I think, you mentioned something a second ago that I think is big when you were talking about this offense and this offensive line performance. I mean, D'Amico has said it. The whole offense is not predicated on taking your shots and taking risks and all that until there's an opportunity to do so, as we talked about with Jaden Higgins and Nico Collins. It's very deliberate, no negative plays. D'Amico has said that repeatedly. The offensive line was by and large clean, no penalties, etc. yesterday, or very few. So I thought the style with which they played reflected that they're good with the offensive line and their philosophy and approach.
So are you buying it in at all to what the offense is doing, both on the mantra that this offense requires itself to stay on schedule and to, stay clean, right, operate cleanly, and then you can see some of these good things happen. And on top of that, are you buying into the idea that with the steep learning curve that this offense seems to have, that maybe they're settling into it? Because, again, you mentioned it felt like CJ, well, we know for certain CJ made a check on one of the touchdown passes, one of the other big plays that we saw early on, the Nico Collins 38 on the left side that we mentioned, felt like that as well. Does it feel like the explosives are going to come from CJ himself, knowing when is the time to take a shot?
100%. 100%. The offense, we talk about margins in this game and in sports in general, how small they are. I think the margins are even smaller with the Texans. I really do, because they are playing so conservative, run the ball, no negative plays, safe passes. But what could change that, what could affect the margins being so small, is a quarterback who can master the offense and can make plays like that when they come up. It's really about, you got to be so incredibly patient on offense. Trust your quarterback to trust himself. And so what they're doing is like safe. Oh, Snead's playing man. Oh, who was the cornerback on Higgins? He's playing man. They're tightening up.
It was in the slot too. That was a very interesting kind of slot fade concept that they had there, and it was just like, all right, now is the time. And I was so happy to see that slot fade, because remember I had asked Texans Cap to do a little digging for me on Higgins and his effectiveness, and in breakers and some of these other things had been below average for him. Where he had succeeded, go routes, routes that kind of break outside like corners. That's one of those routes that he succeeds on, and you get him out there doing that against man coverage. He wins easily and off the line. Great ball that gives him an opportunity to catch it nice and easy. And now you're seeing the benefits of that against an admittedly bad team. But again, the proof of concept is one of the things that we actually needed at this point.
I actually thought of that term. And you were in my head. It drove me nuts. It's so hard for any of us in any walk of life to just stay patient. Oh, they're making a mistake. Now we can go for it. I don't know if I could do it. I think that's what really changed with C.J. Stroud, whether it was talking with D'Amico or Nick Caley or anyone else on the offensive staff, watching the film, understanding, look, stay with it. They're going to make a mistake. They're going to give you a shot to take a shot. And then right when they needed it the most, he did it. And so this, to me, let me put it very succinctly. This was a C.J. Stroud game. We can talk about rookies. We can talk about the defense. We can talk about a shutout. We can talk about changing plays, defensive play callers. Talk about any of it. It's all relevant, and we will. This was a C.J. Stroud game, period.
That might be the biggest turning point, is that the guy who you were hoping to elevate your team seemingly did that in a game, admittedly against the lowly Tennessee Titans, but hell, you definitely needed that one. You need the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a step, is one of those cliches I like saying. And this is one of that's very much felt like that step. Now 1-3 Houston Texans team getting a 26-0 victory. A lot of conversation to be had.